There's a man up a tree taking aim at a council that clearly is to blame for selling public land completely out of hand. There's a man up a tree taking aim.
Okay, so here I am up a tree. I'm up the Sycamore tree in the Cowgate, and this is a self-seeded tree that's been here for about 40, possibly 50 years, and it's effectively been bearing witness to this land, the gap site of the Cowgate, which has been set aside by the previous generation to honour the legacy of Andrew Carnegie, the library, as you can see behind us. Now, the Edinburgh Central Library is one of the most important public libraries in the world. Why that is because it represents one of the first libraries that Andrew Carnegie ever established. He was somewhat maligned as a ruthless businessman, but he was always driven by the common good. And at the end of his life, he gave back to humanity an extraordinary legacy, an unmatched legacy. There is no other human being that has given a legacy that can match this since the Industrial Revolution. He built 3,000 public libraries around the world in order to encourage the enlightenment of humanity so that we would no longer be living in an age of poverty and war. So this land had been recognised as such an important, vital asset for the cultural future of Edinburgh. Up until 2008, the council were poised to develop the land for the library. And then, of course, along came the international banking crisis. And ever since then, Edinburgh Council has lost its way, as with so many other councils and governments around the world. The case is now that the Edinburgh Council is profoundly debilitated by debt. Apparently, at the moment, it stands at £1.7 billion. So the council has not been able to honour its election promises. In 2012, Edinburgh Council made a pledge to citizens which stated, "We need to recognise that there has been a breakdown in trust between the residents of Edinburgh and their elected representatives on the council. That relationship needs to be repaired. This new contract with the capital marks a fresh start, with a council willing to listen to local people and work together with local communities. A council where cooperation, fairness, accountability and responsibility really matter. The city will be able to judge the council against this promise." So here we are, we're 2 months away from a new council administration, and it's my opinion, as shared by many people across Edinburgh, that the council has profoundly betrayed its promises. And the sale of this land is indicative of that, that this land, in the estimations of the local community, is effectively priceless. And yet this land has been sold along with the NHS homeless clinic, which was formerly the Cowgate Head Church, converted into a homeless clinic, together with the old social work department, that is 11 to 15 Victoria Street. That's all been sold for the sum total of £3.5 million. The council is supposed to attain best value, given how significant this land is. To put a price tag of £3.5 million on it is a terrible insult. This campaign, which has been struggling, has at last galvanised some attention as a result of taking occupation of this tree. It's been a conscious decision on my part to put my life at risk in doing this, because last week the developer moved into this site and this tree was under threat of felling. And so when I heard the news of that, I took the direct action to occupy this tree, and I was served a court summons for trespassing. I'm doing this for the sake of my community, which is in a critical state of decline because of all the commercial pressures of the last few years. So many of the residential tenement flats have been bought up, and consequently more and more residential accommodation has been turned into Airbnb, student flats, holiday lets, and then added to that you've got all the backpackers, and now you've got these hotels, and with this we've got another large hotel, 235 beds it's claimed, and then there's another proposed hotel in King Stables Road, on top of what will be more student accommodation. We've had student accommodation down Holyrood Road, and consequently the transient community in the Old Town has completely tipped the balance. And yet underlying all of this, it's commercial corporate interests that are driving this process. So we are the remaining community, and recognising that we have the Scottish Parliament down the road who claim to promote community empowerment and the right to buy, and a government that's supposed to stand up for the people of Scotland, there's something very fundamental that's wrong here. In our objection as a local community to this particular development, we had full support from all our representatives, from all the local councillors, from the MSPs, from the MP, full support from the community council,
There's a
from
man
the surrounding
up a
community
tree
councils.
taking aim at a council that clearly is to blame for selling public land completely out of hand. There's a man up a tree taking aim. Yet another ghastly building is the plan, where the extended central library should stand. Yet another grim hotel to serve investors well, but to wreck the oldest township in the land. There's a man up a tree taking aim at a council that clearly is to blame for selling public land completely out of hand and bringing on itself total shame. It will darken the library reading room, and on the minds of citizens cast gloom. It will further foul the air for the people who live there, and send the living city to its doom. There's a man up a tree taking aim at a council that clearly is to blame for selling public land completely out of hand. There's a man up a tree taking aim. There's just one voice calling for an end to the madness of this hotel building trend, and he is up a tree for the sake of you and me, and today he is the Old Town's only friend.